Imagine a moment where the boundaries between the divine and the human blur, leaving a disciple in awe as his master bestows upon him a powerful legacy. Join us as we explore the final, profound moments of Sri Ramakrishna's life and discover how his spiritual powers and divine revelation were transferred to Narendra, shaping the future of spiritual leadership. Welcome back to our series on Swami Vivekananda. In this episode, we delve into the final days of Sri Ramakrishna's earthly existence and the profound legacy he left for Narendra. Witness the moment when the Master, despite his frail condition, transmits his divine powers and declares his divine nature, setting the stage for Narendra's future mission. We also explore the mystical experiences that followed Sri Ramakrishna's passing and the powerful presence he continued to hold in the lives of his disciples. One day, the Master, unable to speak even in a whisper, wrote on a piece of paper, "Narendra will teach others." The disciple demurred. Sri Ramakrishna replied, "But you must. Your very bones will do it." He further said that all the supernatural powers he had acquired would work through his beloved disciple. A short while before the curtain finally fell on Sri Ramakrishna's earthly life, the Master one day called Narain to his bedside. Gazing intently upon him, he passed into deep meditation. Narain felt that a subtle force, resembling an electric current, was entering his body. He gradually lost outer consciousness. After some time, he regained knowledge of the physical world and found the Master weeping. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "O Narain, today I have given you everything I possess. Now I am no more than a fakir, a penniless beggar. By the powers I have transmitted to you, you will accomplish great things in the world, and not until then will you return to the source whence you have come." Narendra from that day became the channel of Sri Ramakrishna's powers and the spokesman of his message. 2 days before the dissolution of the Master's body, Narendra was standing by the latter's bedside when a strange thought flashed into his mind. Was the Master truly an incarnation of God? He said to himself that he would accept Sri Ramakrishna's divinity if the Master on the threshold of death declared himself to be an incarnation. But this was only a passing thought. He stood looking intently at the Master's face. Slowly, Sri Ramakrishna's lips parted and he said in a clear voice, "Oh, my Narain, are you still not convinced? He who in the past was born as Rama and Krishna is now living in this very body as Ramakrishna, but not from the standpoint of your Vedanta." Thus, Sri Ramakrishna, in answer to Narendra's mental query, put himself in the category of Rama and Krishna, who are recognized by Orthodox Hindus as two of the avatars or incarnations of God. A few words may be said here about the meaning of the incarnation in the Hindu religious tradition. One of the main doctrines of Vedanta is the divinity of the soul. Every soul in reality is Brahman. Thus, it may be presumed that there is no difference between an incarnation and an ordinary man. To be sure, from the standpoint of the Absolute or Brahman, no such difference exists, but from the relative standpoint, where multiplicity is perceived, a difference must be admitted. Embodied human beings reflect godliness in varying measure. In an incarnation, this godliness is fully manifest. Therefore, an incarnation is unlike an ordinary mortal or even an illumined saint. To give an illustration, there is no difference between a clay lion and a clay mouse from the standpoint of the clay. Both become the same substance when dissolved into clay, but the difference between the lion and the mouse from the standpoint of form is clearly seen. Likewise, as Brahman, an ordinary man is identical with an incarnation. Both become the same Brahman when they attain final illumination. But in the relative state of name and form, which is admitted by Vedanta, the difference between them is accepted. According to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 6 to 8, Brahman in times of spiritual crisis assumes a human body through its own inscrutable power called Maya. Though birthless, immutable, and the Lord of all beings, yet in every age Brahman appears to be incarnated in a human body for the protection of the good and the destruction of the wicked. As noted above, the incarnation is quite different from an ordinary man, even from a saint. Among the many vital differences may be mentioned the fact that the birth of an ordinary mortal is governed by the law of karma. whereas that of an incarnation is a voluntary act undertaken for the spiritual redemption of the world. Further, though Maya is the cause of the embodiment of both an ordinary mortal and an incarnation, yet the former is fully under Maya's control, whereas the latter always remains its master. A man, though potentially Brahman, is not conscious of his divinity, but an incarnation is fully aware of the true nature of his birth and mission. The spiritual disciplines practiced by an incarnation are not for his own liberation, but for the welfare of humanity. As far as he is concerned, such terms as bondage and liberation have no meaning, he being ever free, ever pure, and ever illumined. Lastly, an incarnation can bestow upon others the boon of liberation, whereas even an illumined saint is devoid of such power. Thus the Master, on his deathbed, proclaimed himself through his own words as the incarnation or God-man of modern times. On August 15, 1886, the Master's suffering became almost unbearable. After midnight, he felt better for a few minutes. He summoned Narain to his beside and gave him the last instructions, almost in a whisper. The disciples stood around him. At 1:02 in the early morning of August 16, Sri Ramakrishna uttered 3 times in a ringing voice the name of his beloved Kali and entered into the final samadhi, from which his mind never again returned to the physical world. The body was given to the fire in the neighboring cremation ground on the bank of the Ganga. But to the Holy Mother, as she was putting on the signs of a Hindu widow, there came these words of faith and reassurance: "I am not dead. I have just gone from one room to another." As the disciples returned from the cremation ground to the garden house, they felt great desolation. Sri Ramakrishna had been more than their earthly father. His teachings and companionship still inspired them. They felt his presence in his room. His words rang in their ears, but they could no longer see his physical body or enjoy his seraphic smile. They all yearned to commune with him. Within a week of the Master's passing away, Narendra one night was strolling in the garden with a brother disciple when he saw in front of him a luminous figure. There was no mistaking, it was Sri Ramakrishna himself. Narendra remained silent, regarding the phenomenon as an illusion. But his brother disciple exclaimed in wonder, "See, Narain, see." There was no room for further doubt. Narendra was convinced that it was Sri Ramakrishna who had appeared in a luminous body. As he called to the other brother disciples to behold the Master, the figure disappeared. In our next episode, we will witness a pivotal chapter in Swami Vivekananda's life as he transitions from a devoted disciple to a wandering monk. Join us as we explore his experiences at the Baranagar Monastery, his rigorous ascetic practices, and the transformative journey through India that would shape his destiny. Discover how Narendra's dedication and spiritual quest would lead him to become a figure of immense influence and wisdom. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.